Hey everyone, in today's tutorial, I will show you how to create a beautiful particle logo animation right inside Adobe After Effects. Completely plugin free, we will go step by step to make a smooth and professional looking effect, so stick around and let's get started. So let's start our project by creating new composition, rename this main. Let's keep the width to 920 and height 1080, frame rate 29.97 frames per second, 12 seconds of duration, and hit OK on the keyboard. Now create another composition, rename this logo, placeholder, open footage and logo folder and select the Prime Video logo and drag and drop this to our composition. Press S on the keyboard and let's change the scale from 100 to 25% and close this composition for now. Now create another composition, rename this logo set and select the placeholder, logo placeholder and drag and drop this to logo set composition and close it for now. Now create another composition, rename this particle matte and hit OK on the keyboard. Open footage and logo folder. Select the particle.mov file and drag and drop this to our composition. Duplicate it 3 times by pressing Ctrl D on the keyboard. Press P on the keyboard for this first particle.mov file and let's change its position to something like 690 and something like 590. Maybe let's change this to something like 685. That's okay for now. Let's create another composition, rename this reflection. Now let's create here a new solid. Hit OK. Open effects and presets and let's search for fractal noise effect, add it to our solid. So first of all, let's change the fractal type from basic to strange, noise type from soft linear to block, contrast from 100 to 200, brightness something like 10, and let's change the complexity from 6 to 1.3. Open transform and just click on this tick, uniform scaling, and now select the scale width and change this from 100 to 320. And select scale height and change it from 100 to 350. Now click on the stopwatch icon, offset turbulence, change this to 0, and now go to frame 12 and change this to 2000. Go to evolution, change this to something like 350 and to 350 and go to evolution options and let's change the random speed from 0 to 5. Now go back to project and let's drag and drop here the particle matte here. Select the black solid, go to effects and preset, search for turbulent displace. add it into this black solid. Now let's change the displacement from turbulent to turbulent smoother, amount from 50 to 5, size from 100 to 50, offset turbulence from 960 to minus 527, and from 540 to minus 280, and at frame 0 create a keyframe on evolution by clicking on the stopwatch icon. Press U on the keyboard to see the keyframes. Go to last frame and change the evolution from 0 to 150. Now again go to Effect and Presets and add here Fast Box Blur effect. Let's change the blur radius from 0 to 8 and iteration to something like 1. Now go back to Effect and Presets and let's add a tint effect. Cut it from here and let's add it to black solid. Change the map white to black and amount to tint something like 20. Now select these two last keyframes and hit F9 on the keyboard to ease them. And now let's change the black solid matte to particle matte. Now select the black solid, press Ctrl D, duplicate it, and now go to track matte and change the track matte from particle matte to no matte, and press U on the keyboard to reveal the keyframes, and now press T on the keyboard to open opacity properties. Go 3 seconds forward and create a keyframe on opacity. Now let's change the opacity from 100 to 0. Go 2 seconds forward and change the opacity from 0 to 100. Select the first keyframe and hit F9 on the keyboard to ease it. Now we have created our matte. I think it's okay for now, and let's close this reflection composition. Create a new composition. Rename this logo reveal. Now open the logo reveal composition, drag and drop here reflection and logo set. Let's duplicate the logo set once again by pressing Ctrl D on the keyboard. Hide it for now. Let's move all our composition into this folder and rename it comps. For reflection, I'm gonna add here a few effects. First of all, let's add the CC glass effect into our reflection composition. Open surface and let's change the bump map from reflection to logo set. Property from lightness to alpha. Softness 50. Height something like 80%. And displacement from 100 to minus 150. And let's change the track matte of this reflection to logo set 1. And open light settings. Let's change the light type from distance light to point light. Light height from 65 to 50, and let's change the light position from 9060 to 1150. And now let's add here the CC Globalize effect. Open Globiness, and let's change the blob layer from reflection to logo set, and from lightness to alpha, and let's change the softness from 20 to 8, and the cutaway from 25 to something like 10. Now you can see how this effect works. And open light setting. Let's change the light type from distance to point, and let's change the light height from 65 to 60, and let's change the light position from 480 to 960, and from 270 to 232. Open shading, go for shading ambient from 75 to 50, diffuse from 25 to something like 20, and roughness from 0.025 to 0.030, and let's change metal from 100 to 50. Now you can see. Let's just create a few keyframes on here. Now press T on the keyboard to open opacities, properties. Now go to 9 seconds and create a keyframe on opacity. And let's change the opacity from 100 to 80%, and now go to something like 3 seconds and 12 frames, and let's change the opacity from 80% to 100. Select this last keyframe and hit F9 on the keyboard to easy ease it. Now turn on this logo and let's change its mode from normal to screen. Press T on the keyboard and go to 9 seconds, and let's change the opacity to something like 80. Create a keyframe. Now go to something like 4 seconds and 7 frames, and let's change the opacity from 80% to 40%, and go to something like 2 seconds and 20 frames, and change the opacity from 40% to 0%. Select the last keyframe and hit F9 on the keyboard to ease it. Now let's add here shadow and highlight effect. First of all, let's click on this tick auto amount, and let's change the highlight amount from 0 to 50%. Now just turn on this auto amounts tick on, and let's change this temporal smoothing from 0 to something like 2, and now just don't tick this once again. Now let's add here another effect, and let's add here vibrance effect, and let's change the vibrance from 0 to 5, and the saturation also to 5. Let's close this composition for now. Now let's create another composition. Rename this one logo. Hit OK and move this to the composition comps folder. And now drag and drop here logo reveal. Press S on the keyboard. And let's change the scale from 100 to 85%. Now let's add here CC cross blur. Now let's change the radius X from 0 to 5% and the radius Y from 0 to 65%, and turn off repeat edge pixels. Now press Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate this logo once again, and now delete the CC cross blur from here. Now go to project and go to footage and logo folder and drag and drop this particle.mov file into our project. Go to effect and presets panel, search for tint effect. Add this tint effect into particle.mov file. Let's change the color something like this, and let's add here another effect, glow, and let's change the glow threshold from 60 to 90% and the glow radius from 10% to 100% and the glow intensity from 1 to 0.5. Let's change the composite original from behind to none and press Ctrl D on the keyboard once again to duplicate this logo reveal, and select the particle and change its track matte from no matte to logo reveal. And let's change particles mode from normal to art. Now go to something like 7 seconds and 20 frames. Create a keyframe on opacity, press T on the keyboard. And now go to 8 seconds and 21 frames. And let's make the opacity 0. Select the last keyframe and hit F9 on the keyboard to ease it. And for particles map white color, let's change this from 40 to 43. Select the particles and press Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it once again. And just go to around 25 frames. And let's move it here. Just press S on the keyboard and let's change the particle size from 100 to 60. Now also close this logo composition and open the comps folder and select this logo composition and drag and drop this to our main composition. Now open footage and logo folder and drag and drop this particle.mov file right over here. Now double click on this logo composition to open it and select this particle.mov file. Select the tint and glow and just press Ctrl C on the keyboard to copy it. Go back to main composition and Ctrl V to paste it here. For glow, let's change the glow threshold from 90 to 80. Glow radius from 100 to 200. And glow intensity from 0.5 to 0.6. Move the logo 9 frames forward and press S on the keyboard. Create a keyframe and change the scale from 100 to 90. And then now move to the last frame and let's change the scale from 90 to 110. And now let's add here a few effects. Let's add here drop shadow. Let's change the opacity from 50 to 30%. The direction from 135 to 142. Let's change the distance from 5 to 25. And the softness from 0 to 60%. And let's add here now let's add here noise effect. And now let's change amount of noise from 0 to 2%. Go to effect and preset panel once again and add here sharpen effect. And let's change the sharpen amount from 0 to 25%. Now let's create another composition. Rename this final. Hit enter. And now let's just drag and drop this main composition here. First of all, let's create here new solid. Rename this BG for background. And let's add here ramp effect. And let's change this one's color from white to 200. Let's swap the color and let's change the type from linear to radial, and move it something like this, and also move this one a little bit into the top. Create a new solid. Rename this fade. Press T on the keyboard. Go to frame 0 and change the opacity to 100%. Move to frame 9 and change the opacity from 100 to 10%. Move to 11 seconds and create another keyframe, and let's change the amount of opacity to 0 and move to last frame and let's change the opacity again to 100. Select the last keyframe, hit F9 on the keyboard to easy ease it. Select the background. Let's change its position. Start of ramp from 960 and something like -3000 and 790, 2210. Let's change ramp scatter from 0 to 500 and let's add here noise effect, and let's change amount of noise from 0 to 2.